All right. Today we're going to talk about the cyber literacy chapter 4, text and key terms. And the reason that we're going to go over them in detail, and we probably may not make it through the whole chapter, but we'll at least make it through the first part of it so that you will see how it works. There's a concern that what we need to be working on is how to read informational text and find the important things. We talked about taking notes earlier this year. We did that already at the beginning. And I remember when I told you that there were times that you did not need to write everything down, that you just needed to pick out the important parts. And that's what we're going to talk about today is how do we find those important parts using what's shown to us in the text. We're going to look at text features, things like that. Your assignment is this Cyber Literacy Chapter 4, Text and Key Terms. Yes, some of you have turned it in. But what you're going to do is everyone, even if they've turned it in, after we're done going over this, you're going to go back to that and you're going to check it again and make sure that you have taken all the notes you need to take and you have defined and explained the key terms and things like that in such a way that you have a good, thorough Google document with all the information on it that you need. Now, you can also use, I don't think we have Adobe right now for you guys, but I'm going to look for something that you can use where you can actually highlight and things like that just using your document that you can download. But for today, you're going to end up having to type those notes. All right, we're going to start. Again, your assignment is right here. And what we're going to do is we're going to start by just going over the text. First of all, when you're taking notes on a chapter, it starts right here with chapter 4, protecting what's yours, your identity. Do you want to move so you can see? You guys over? No, you can see. You can turn sideways and see, but I think, can you see, Jaden? Are you sure? Okay. All right. It says chapter 4, protecting what's yours, your identity. I would say that that's something kind of important because it's the title of what your document needs to be. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our document, and let's make this document bigger so that it's easier to see when we click over here. All right, notice that we put chapter 4 or C4. You don't have to write chapter, you can write C4, protecting what's yours, your identity. All right, so let's go back and look at the document and see what things it says. Now, right here it says this is an overview. An overview is the same thing as a summary. When you summarize something, do you write down everything when you write a summary? No, you don't write everything, do you? Tell me what you put in a summary. What do you put in there? I heard it over here. Say it louder. Who said? The important stuff. You don't have to write everything, just the important things. But in a summary, because it is the important stuff, and this is a summary right here, there's a lot of information in a little bit of room. So before, when I told you don't have to write everything down, you still don't have to write everything down. But we do need to find the important things in here. And there's going to be more important stuff in that little compact section because it is a summary. So when you're looking at a summary or you're looking at an overview, know that there could be quite a bit of information in there that you need. All right, it says, do you know the differences between private and personal information and which type is almost never safe to share online? What do we know that they're going to be talking about in this chapter that we need to understand? What about this right here? Differences between private and personal information? Do you think that might be important? Because that's the first thing they mention. All right, so let's see if it will let me do this. Yes. And will it let me use the highlighter? No, it won't. All right. So anyway, we have differences between private and personal information. That's going to be important. So on my document that's right here, I put private information, personal information, because they're different topics and we need to know about them. And which type is almost never safe to share online? We probably want to know which one is never safe to share online. All right, you might want to write that in there. Do you know which one is never safe to share? The private, right? You know, share your private information. All right, in this chapter, you will learn about identity thieves, the types of information they steal, and how they accomplish identity theft. All of that might be important because those are the things that it tells you the chapter is going to cover. All heads should be up and all eyes should be back here. All right, so we've got identity thieves, type of information, and how they accomplish. All right, so here's our document. Identity thieves, the type of information they steal, and how they steal identities. Listed tips for staying safe online, including how to create a strong password, will help you avoid identity theft. Well, do you think it might be important to avoid identity theft? Because identity theft can really mess you up. All right. So we want to avoid identity theft. Well, how do they help us? Listed tips for staying safe online, including how to create a strong password. So on our document, tips for staying safe online, strong passwords, and how to avoid identity theft. Then it tells you a discussion of what to do if your identity is compromised, rounds out the chapter. So what happens if your identity gets stolen? Well, we don't know, but they tell us in this chapter. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to say again, all heads should be up and all eyes should be back here. I do not wish to call names since I am recording, but I will if I need to. Gentlemen, sit up. All right, so we put down here what to do. Next, we have our key terms. Now, I still do not know if you guys have access to Snip Tool where you can keep it on your toolbar on yours or not, but Snip Tool is a very handy tool. You do not have to write all of this down sometimes. Sometimes you can go to the Snip Tool, you can take a new snip of it, just highlight the part of the screen you want. It's like taking a screenshot, but only the part of the screen you want. And we would save it. I'm not going to save it because I've already saved it once, but you can save that and then you can use it in your document.
J. Sean Jones, please report to the front office for checkout. J. Sean Jones, please report to the front office for checkout.
All right. And then next, after you have your key terms here, remember we're going to put those in the document so that you can see them. Remember that they are not listed in alphabetical order, but they are listed in the order that they will show up in the reading. Now, I'm not going to put down any more. There are notes on this document right here, and I might share this with you just to give you an idea of how to put some notes on your own document to start you off. But we're just going to take a look from here on out just at the text. All right. It starts off right here. What is identity theft? And without reading it, without looking at the specific words on here, what are some clues that they give you on this page to show you information that might be very important? What are some of the text features or clues that they give you? What? Okay, it tells you about private information being stolen. Okay, but what are the clues that it tells you that that's important? What about the typing? Tell me something specific about it.
Highlighted.
It's highlighted. Okay, there's some highlighted stuff. All right. Is there anything in bold print that kind of stands out? We see some bold print there. We see section headings. Section headings will help you to know what's in that part that you should be reading about. And we also have this over here, this fact right here. You may or may not want to write this down, but these things that are like this stand out. We have the section heading right here. What is identity theft? I would tell you that you should probably write these down, these section headings, so you know what section you got the notes from. And this one is already phrased as a question for you. So when you're done taking notes on this right here, it should answer that question and you should be able to explain it. All right, so then we have the word identity theft right here highlighted. It says when private information such as your name or social security number is stolen and used without permission, usually to commit financial fraud. Now, before we move any further, what is financial fraud? What does anything that's financial have to do with? Money. Money. Okay. So this captures your attention right here. Wait a minute. People can steal my identity and they can take money from me or cause money problems for me by committing financial fraud. All right. Identity thieves often use, what do they use? Cyberspace. All right. To find and steal identities because a great deal of information is available on the web. Why do they use cyberspace? What does it tell you? Because what? They can find a lot of information about you there. All right. So those things are important. Identity thieves gather available information from what kind of accounts? Social media. I remember a time when people were, they were not very savvy about their social media and not understanding that people were out there watching their social media, and they would post that, oh, we're going to be gone for 2 weeks on vacation, or we're going to be gone for a Christmas on a trip or whatever, instead of waiting until they got back and then posting, hey, we had a great trip. But they were letting people know that they were going to be gone. So physical thieves broke into their home to steal things because they knew nobody was going to be there. So it's kind of the same principle. Be careful what you share on your social media, your private information. You don't even want to share physical things like that, like we're going to be gone for 2 weeks. That's not safe. Other public sites, they use other public sites as well, not just your social media. And they find ways to trick people into revealing even more information. That's what this chapter is about. All right. So again, it seems like a lot of information, but you don't have to write all that down. And right up here, like it says social security number, if you don't want to write down social security number, the typical abbreviation for that is SSN, if you know what that means. So you don't have to write down all those words, but they give you clues as to what's important here. This next section, how identity theft is accomplished. Well, it says identity thieves can be very clever. Listed below are 3 ways thieves use the internet to steal private information. I know that this is in bold print right here. Do we need to write that down though? You're right. I don't think we need to write that down because it says how identity theft is accomplished. You're going to write that down. And then it says there are 3 ways. Are you going to list the 3 ways? Are those 3 ways important? Yes. But there's no need to be redundant and say, I'm going to list 3 ways below. Save your time. Don't write that down. All right. So then we have phone calls. And it tells us how they use phone calls. They contact us by phone, pretending to work for legitimate companies or institutions. It may be somebody saying that they're your bank, things like that. Since our trust in them has already been established, I already know that I've been banking with my same bank for a number of years now. So I trust them. So if they call me and say, hey, this is Wells Fargo, I'm like, oh, okay, what do you need? And then if they ask me for private information like a password or my social security number or things like that, it may not be the best idea to give those out because my bank tells me they're never going to call me and ask me for my password. That's my password. They don't need to know it. Can I help you, sir?
They also call you by your car's extended warranty.
Yeah, that one too. That's my favorite. The warranty calls, they're constant. So, I'm glad for all the spam blockers that I have on my phone now because they're relentless. They don't stop. All right. So let's move on here real quick. They give you phone calls. Phishing is the same as those phone calls, only it's emails, not phones that they use. And they may even do other things like put links in there that if you click on them will give viruses to your computer that could log your keystrokes and things like that. And then the third one is public computers. If you use a public computer and you don't log out completely, you leave your information that was on there already open for someone else to look at. So you have to be careful with that. So again, the text clues here, how identity theft is accomplished. And then there are 3 ways: phone calls, phishing, and public computers. And you will need to make sure that when you write those things down, you take notes about them. Phone calls, account password, social security number, home address. Phishing uses email. They may tell you that you have an account issue that you need to take care of right then. That's another one that has been tried on me before. You have an account problem and you have to take care of it immediately. Well, no, I don't, because that's not how my bank would handle it. You want a prize or give you a link. You got to look at those. People are sneaky and they try to get you to, give them information in all kinds of ways. And then public computers, make sure that you sign out completely. What was your question? What? Yep. All right. So let's take a look at the next section. It says stolen information. While not every thief uses the stolen information in the same way, many use it in the ways listed below. Do you need to write down this whole thing right here? No, because they're just giving you some examples of how stolen information can be used. And do you need to write down the whole thing? Or can you write gain access and know that you're talking about your bank accounts? Take out a loan. That's pretty self-explanatory. You don't want somebody taking out a loan in your name. You don't want somebody opening a credit card account in your name. Open utility accounts. What are utilities? Water bill, light bill. Okay, some people don't know what that is, but utilities are when you're taking care of your home. Seeking medical assistance. The last one here is what happens most of the time when your social media gets hacked. You have to hijack or take over your email account to send unsolicited messages. They can send messages on your behalf that you did not send. Okay? So you're going to want to write down stolen information, and then you're going to want to write this list because these are text clues that these things are important. And then we talked about before, we didn't get to this with the other class period earlier, what's private and what's personal. This is an extremely important part right here. It says the words private and personal have similar meanings, but in cyberspace, the difference between them is very important. All right. So we want to know the difference between private and personal when it applies to cyberspace. And they give you a list right here of private information, what it is. It says information that could identify who you are as a person. And they give you a list of things. And then they tell you personal information. It doesn't necessarily identify who you are, even though it is personal to you. It's okay to talk about your favorite sport, music, your movies, advice, favorite books, things like that. Those are things that are okay to share. They don't identify you specifically as a person, but they describe who you are. So that's okay. And then right here, when is it safe to share private information? Most of the time, never. You're right. However, whenever you actually have to go like get your driver's license, or if you're applying for a job, bank loans, bank accounts, things like that, then there is private information that you do have to share with them. But most of the time, it's never safe. I like this right here. Always check with a parent or guardian first before sharing any private information. That includes your home address. Don't give that out, especially to someone that you are just talking to online. That is so dangerous. All right, so we're going to take a look at this document. Here's the stolen information and what they did. And I might start you off with this document just so that you can have something to look at that will help you see what it is that you need to put into your notes. Again, you've got the key terms. Some of them need to be defined. Some of them might require explanation. Okay. Are there any questions at this point about especially the text clues and things to look for and how to take notes? Did this help you to find those text clues? And especially to relieve you of feeling like you have to write down this right here, the whole thing. Private information such as the items should never be shared online. Just write down private information could identify you, should not be shared. And then make a list of these things right here. You don't have to write it word for word. All right. So what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the assignment for Cyber Literacy Chapter 4. When you view the assignment, over on the right-hand side, it's going to give you the option of let's see. I didn't make you a copy there. All right. So you have to create your document when you do this. If you've already created one, just click on it and go back to it. And I want you to finish taking notes on Cyber Literacy Chapter 4. We talked about most of it. Here, there's just a little bit staying safe by saying alert, how to create a strong password. This is important. You should write down that list. What to do if your identity is compromised. It tells you some steps to take whenever you have those kinds of problems. You do not have to work on these assessments and things down here. So this is where it has page 55 at the bottom. That's where you stop taking notes on this. Make sure that you define and explain the key terms that are right here. Make sure that you have a full understanding of those. All right, one last time. Are there any questions about what to do on this assignment? All right, I am going to stop recording.